1 second. Let me just... All right, this is the I.S.U.P.K Wednesday law class. I don't believe so. Should be. This is the I.S.U.P.K Wednesday law class. I.S.U.P.K under commanding GEN.YAHANNA. Also remember, was it? Yeah. Also remember, check out commanding GEN.YAHANNA's radio show, which is Monday 2 a.m. UK time. Then there's classes. Tuesday the law class. Wednesday the scripture breakdown. Thursday the history. Friday the Lashman Kodash. Those classes are UK time, which is midnight. Also, we have classes here. Monday, we have the history class. Wednesday, we have the law class. Thursday, the scripture breakdown class. 7 p.m. till 9. Come on down, man. Come on down to the classes in person. 394 Lodge Road. Come on down to the classes. Also, we got the next holiday is the Passover, man. April 20th. April 20th, we got some flights booked last week. Whoever else is still needing a flight, just, let us know, man. We'll find you one, try and get you on the same one that we on, so we can all fly out together and whatnot. Obviously, people's circumstances is different and whatnot, but yeah, we're all trying to get out there together and so forth. But today we're going to go into a few scriptures on slavery, how it was $1 billion business, how slavery just wasn't... 5 white friends deciding one day that, we're gonna go and get some slaves. Nah, man, it was $1 million business. It was $1 billion business from these so-called white men who actually hold some weight. People who can actually, you see, like your MPs. There was people like your MPs and so forth. Obviously, just some 5 little white boys. They didn't have that power, but obviously they still benefited from slavery, man. But slavery was $1 billion business. Slavery was run today like how a business is run. You had tons of people involved in it, man. All of them came together. All of them had different fields and all came together. One man was a sailor. One man was a doctor. And first of all, to navigate a ship, do you know how... Listen, not anyone can navigate a ship. Same like not everyone can fly a plane. Same like not everyone can drive a bus with passengers, man. They had to have certain credentials to do these things. So this ain't just some drunk white man's idea that can't do nothing. Says, "Oh, we're gonna get some slaves." Nah, man. This was planned over years. Also, it was planned with the Africans that sold us, because they had I can't remember what their group was called. It was called the Royal something, African something, which was like the Africans over there, who the white man would speak with. And them two used to do business together, man, commerce. Them two used to trade together. And they built strong relationships. And because they built strong relationships, the Africans used to do their part, round us up on their part. The white man would come, and then they would sell us, man. And then what the white man would do is give the Africans handkerchiefs and little things like that. And the white man would take you now and they sell you for quadruple that, man. So the white man picked you up for the price of a bandana, a handkerchief. Picked you up for the price of a handkerchief. And then he would sell you for way more than that. He would sell you for what? How much would he sell you for? It varies depending on the slave, if he was strong, if he was sick, if he had a bad back, if he looked good. Basically, it's like a car. You sell cars depending on what the mileage is, what the value is, what the bodywork is. Now, the people that came to buy you from them slave ports, after slave, the people that came to buy you, they'll take a look at you and be like, this one looks strong. one ain't got no marks, no wounds. And then they'll decide, all right, then I want to pay this much for him. But if he was old and feeble and weak, you'd go for cheap. Or sometimes they just used to kill them before that, knowing this one ain't really worth much. That's what they used to do, man. From there, take me to Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 12. Also, if you got any questions, just type them in and we'll get to them.
Habakkuk 2 and 12. Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood.
The Bible says, woe to him that buildeth a town with blood. Now, when you look at the UK, this is a country which is built with blood, man. When you look at America, that's a country which is built with blood. Meaning what? The blood of the slaves, man. That's what it was built with. Do you know how many black people had to suffer? How many black people had to die just so they can build these cities up? Now, this is how the rich became so rich, because what would happen is, from the proceeds of slavery, they would move out to the suburbs, man. They would make all that money, they would move out to the suburbs, they'd set up casinos, they'd set up shops, set up businesses. That's what they would do, man. From the proceeds of crime, from your blood, sweat, and tears, they built up this place. From your blood, sweat, and tears, man, this place was built up, man. That's what I'm saying, man. Go back to Habakkuk 2 and 12.
Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood.
The Bible says, woe to him that buildeth a town with blood. Now, you know which was a great major city which was built up in the time. Obviously, it's not that big of a city now, but Liverpool, man. Do you know how great Liverpool was? Because that's where the docks was. Liverpool, listen, so much cargoes was going in and out Liverpool that they had to build new docks. They had to build new docks, man. That's how much. That's how much docks was going in and out of Liverpool. And then they set up docks in where? Cardiff. Where else did they set up docks? They set up docks in Bristol. They set up docks in everywhere. And also, what you need to realize is, you know how you know it's a professional business? Because not anyone could just build a dock. Not anyone could just build a ship. Not anyone can navigate a ship. So listen, that's how you know, man. So lucky, if I could read that again for me.
Habakkuk 2 and 12. Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood.
It says, woe to him that buildeth a town with blood, man. Habakkuk 2 and 12. Let me see what I'm looking for. Listen, man, this is a book called The Zong. It says, now, when the Zong was purchased by a group of Liverpool merchants in 1781, that city was the dominant force in the Atlantic slave trade. Sorry, I just read from here so you can finish that. It says, by the time the British slave trade ceased in 1807, 1 in 6 or 7 Africans, obviously when it says Africans, it means Israelites, but obviously the white man lies to about his nationality, so he's going to say African when we know we're not. So it says the British slave trade ceased in 1807. 1 in 6 or 7 Africans who had crossed the Atlantic had done so in a Liverpool registered ship. And listen, man, these ships was registered. Same like you get your car registered. This wasn't just some random band that made the ship. These ships was registered. These ships was insured, man. They had insurance on these ships, which lets you know it was run like a business. I mean, not anyone can just like Karafi couldn't just say to me, all right, don't go about your car's insured. Nah, man, you have to be in a position of authority. You have to have a legal business in order to set up insurance. Same thing like back in slavery, man. They had legal businesses where they set up insurance, where it's like, all right, then if this happens during slavery, we'll pay you back. Same like your car insurance says to you, you know what, if you crash and this happens, we'll cover this much, we'll pay you back if it's not your fault. Same like they had an insurance letter on the slaves, man. If the slaves die, or if the slaves kill themselves, we'll pay you back, man. That's what they said to them. So the white man being the devil, guess what he used to do? He used to kill them and say, you know what, they killed themselves and claim it on the insurance. He used to kill them and claim it on the insurance because obviously the insurance company ain't there. It's like if you crash your car, what do you do? If you drink driving and you crash your car, what do? You report it stolen, right? You report it stolen, so they think somebody else crashed it. Listen, the white man done the same thing to the slaves, man. He used to kill them and then called it jettison. Jettison is when you what? Jump overboard. In their insurance document, you was covered for that. So that came as part of the insurance. If the slaves killed themselves, that came as part of the insurance. Now you killing them, that wasn't insured. So what the white man used to do is kill them, throw them overboard. I mean, no one ain't gonna go search the ocean for them. No one ain't gonna search the British Channel and so forth for them. So the insurance company will never know. They'll just pay out, man. And it says, by that point, Liverpool had become synonymous with the slave trade, but in its inexorable rise had come on the back of a flourishing maritime business. Now, what's a maritime business? What's maritime? Maritime is an insurance company, man, that insures ships and cargoes and so forth. Even if you look at maritime now, they still do insurance now. You still can get insured with them now. And this was the same company which insured the ships. That's the same company which insured your forefathers, man. The same company. Says maritime business in many different cargoes, not solely human. So they don't just insure humans. They insured humans back then. They insured barrels. They insured ships. They insured everything, man. And to get insurance today, it's a legal business. So in order for them to get insurance on this, lets you know that slavery was a legal business. I think most people think slavery was just 5 white friends came together and said, oh, let's go capture some people. Nah, man, it was bigger than that. Slavery was a business with insurance documents, with your government signing it, saying, yeah, get them from here, get them from there, with the Africans that was in power, selling the people. Obviously, you had a few slaves which were sold on the black market, which would have been sold for way cheaper, which is like now, someone's got a stolen car, they sell you way cheaper than the price. Go ahead.
I always wonder about, I'm thinking, why would you capture them and then throw them off the ships? When you capture them, you needed them. So if you get paid by insurance to kill them,
they'll get their money. And every slave that they killed, because they was insured, they would just get their money back on it. So if one slave was too rebellious, they would kill them. If they thought one slave was too sick and was gonna make the other one sick, they'll just throw that one overboard. So they'll just kill them just like that. So that was our life on them slave ships, man. And these slave ships was on there for months. Sometimes they would miss the point where it was meant to stop and so forth. In many different cargoes, not solely human. It says the city's coastal trade remained the dominant form of Liverpool's trade throughout the 18th century and brought great wealth to the city. Read that from here. A city built with blood in Habakkuk 2:12.
Habakkuk 2:12. Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood.
It says, woe to him that buildeth a town with blood. And here it says these slaves brought great wealth to the city. They brought great wealth to the city, but guess what? They died, man. Most of them died on the way. Most of them was thrown overboard. Most of them was just killed because the white man seen it as a bit of fun. They was on the ship, and for like 2 months, 3 months, they needed a bit of entertainment, man. Who do you think was their entertainment? You was their entertainment on them ships. In one book, it tells you that they had two 15-year-old girls dancing, man. They had 2 15-year-old girls dancing on the ship. And then after that, they hung her by her foot and then killed her, man. Threw her overboard as well. This is what they used to do, man. Do all this on the ship. On the ship, you had different parts. You had what? The top deck. Then you had the bottom part where it was like all dark under there. You lift up the thing and all the slaves are under there shackled. That's what it was like on there, man. And this is why today, honestly, when you look at a cruise ship, it's the same thing as a slave ship, man. All it is now, obviously, just not shackled and in chains. The same entertainment that you get on a cruise ship is the same entertainment that the white man got on the slave ship. I mean, why would you even want to party on the ship anyway. Like, it don't make no sense to me that you're in a party on a ship where there's water. Listen, the same thing was going on during slavery, man. You was the white man's entertainment. That was his cruise ship. It says, Liverpool boomed. It was a place which buzzed with energy, with armies of people bustling around the riverfront and docks, or working to build and expand the fabric of that thriving port. And their docks and ports was thriving. You know why? Because they was getting all the tobacco, all the cotton, they was getting all the sugar, they was getting all the fabrics, they was getting all of this, man. So they was getting all of this, and then they was selling it. They was selling all of this, and then they would be like, all right, then it's time for us to get some more slaves so we can make more and more and more. So first it started off small, then over time it expands. The more slaves you get, that's the more work they're doing, and so forth. The more slaves you have, the more ships you can buy, the more sailors you can pay, the more doctors you can pay, the more sailors' mates you can pay, the more security you can have on the ship. Like, people think the ship was just two white men and about 400 people. Nah, man. You had doctors on board, you had sailors on board, you had everybody on board, man, and they all came together to make it work. Also, on the slave ship, there was you had people who was in control of certain things. You had one man whose job it was to make sure there was enough supplies for the journey. How else do you think they made it all the way back? It was one man's job to make sure there was enough supplies for the journey. It was the next man's job to feed the slaves. It was the next man's job to make sure the slaves don't get too sick. So they had doctors, they had all of these things. And you know how you know it was a business? Because on the slave ships, there used to be a few of the workers that used to get suspended. So what happened is, one time they suspended the guy whose job it was to check the food supplies. So because he was suspended, obviously he can't do his job. He didn't check the food supplies. The food supplies ran low. The sailor mistaked the Caribbean for French territory, so he avoided it. And then he realized that's where he was meant to stop. So that to what is it when you're in a ship? Not fly. What is it? When you have to what? Sorry, say that again. What is it? Obviously, if you're in a plane, you say flying. If you know, and say, yeah, that's it. So I was there to sail for extra 2 weeks, and there weren't enough supplies. So because they sacked that man from his job, there wasn't enough supplies in the ship. And because the English had a problem with the French at the time. That was a French colony over there. They couldn't stop there. Well, he mistook it for a French colony, even though that's where it was meant to unload the slaves. He drove straight past it. There weren't enough supplies. What did he do? He had to lighten his load, man. And how did he lighten his load? Killed half the niggas on the ship, man. Because there weren't enough food for all of them. But from there, let me read on. It says, let me just finish this part. It says, within these 50 years, it have increased prodigiously in trade and is now the greatest seaport in England. Except London and Bristol, there was hardly an inch to spare at the water's edge as vessels jostled from all corners of European and Atlantic trade. So now, you see when you go to an airport and there's planes after planes after planes, you go to the ports, there were ships after ships after ships, man. There were ships after ships after ships. Because they was making so much money. They was making so much money off it. They was making so much money off you. And listen, let me tell you another thing, man. Slaves didn't even get brought to England. Slaves got brought to the Caribbean, man. But the cotton that you picked, that got brought to England. The sugar that you cut, that got brought to England. The tobacco that you picked, that got brought to England. Picking cotton was no easy task. It grows in a ball and it has sharp edges. So when it's ripe, the thing opens up and then you have to twist the cotton out of there. And because you're under pressure from the white man and you have to pick a certain amount a day, you cut your fingers. Those cuts don't get to heal because you keep cutting your fingers on it. The cotton inside is soft, but getting to it is the hard part because it comes inside like a little clasp like this. And then you have to get your hands in and take it out. You would have a big bucket that they expect you to put all the cotton in. And listen, man, all that cotton came to England. What would they do? T-shirts was made, jumpers was made. And then from there, they would sell those things and then make more money. And then what would they do? Take another trip back to Africa to get some more slaves, man. Take me to Deuteronomy chapter 28. So lucky you got a pen. Anyone got a pen in here? Let me see if we got a pen. 68.
You're trying to be 28.
Yeah, go ahead.
28, 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
It says, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again. Now, the word for Egypt is bondage, man. Egypt is a Greek word for bondage, meaning slavery. So what we're talking about now is the slavery that we're talking about, man. This going into bondage right here in the Bible is the slavery that we're talking about right now. The same slave ships that we're talking about right now, man. What we're reading about in history right now. What we're reading from this book here, this ain't the Bible. This is just a normal book written by, you know, a scholar, a historian. And it says that we shall go into slavery again with ships, man. Go ahead.
With ships. By the way, whereof I spake unto thee.
So it said that we went into slavery with ships. 1 second. I'm going to show you the routes that they would take. Just read that again.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
It says, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, man. So, don't think this one works, you know, is there any others? I just want to draw you a diagram, not a diagram, but just a little picture, so you know how it works. So you know how they mapped it all out and the route they took and so forth. Yeah, that was. So I'm just going to draw you a little. Read that again for me.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
It says, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. Now that's talking about slavery, man. That's talking about this slavery. That's talking about you going to the Caribbean and so forth, man. That's talking about you being carried all over the whole earth. That's what that slavery is talking about. Read that for me again.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
Go ahead.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again.
So you wasn't to see your homeland again, man.
And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies.
And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies, man.
For bondmen and bondwomen.
One second, give me a second.
And no man shall buy you.
Read that again.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again.
And we went on ships, man. So I'm gonna show you the route that they took. It was called a triangular route which they took. So this is how the route works. Let me just go in front of the camera and show them how the route works. Let me know if you can see the paper. Let me know if you can see the paper on the screen. Please. Let me know if you can see it. Yeah, so that looks backwards to me. So basically, let's just say this is West Africa there. This is the Caribbean there. This is Europe there. So what the white man would do is he would start here in Europe. What would he do? He would load up them Liverpool ships with handkerchiefs, with blankets, with brandy. He would load it all up. Then he would go en route from Europe to Africa. What would he do once he gets there? He would unload that. He would unload that ship of the handkerchiefs, of the brandy, and everything else that he brought. He would give that to the Africans, and then after that, the Africans would put you on the ship. So you would jump on the ship here once they've unloaded the stuff that they've had from Europe off in Africa to them kings of Africa and to the people that has handed us over. So here they would take all that handkerchiefs off. Then you would end up on the ship here, and then where would you go from here? You would be shackled on the ship after he's handed over the handkerchiefs. Then you would take your route from Africa to the Caribbean. And then what would happen to you once you get to the Caribbean? You'd get to the Caribbean, you'd be taken off the ship, and then you would be sold to, what do you call them now? Plantation owners. The plantation owners would be waiting for you to come from there. So you would get taken off the ship in the Caribbean, and then the plantation owners would decide how much they want to pay for you. So they would unload you off the ship, and then when they unload you off the ship, they collect all the money, and then they also collect the cotton that your brothers was picking that was there before you, the sugar cane they was picking that was there before you, the tobacco that they was picking that was there before you. So they'll take you off the ship, then they load it up with the sugar cane, the cotton, the tobacco, then they go back to Europe, then they unload all of those goods in Europe and they make money off it. Then what would they do? They'd load it up with the handkerchiefs again and go all the way back to Africa, unload it again, put more slaves on, take it all the way back to the Caribbean, and do the same thing all over again, man. And when you look it up, it's a thing called a triangular route. Yeah, the triangular route. There's a thing called the triangular route, and that was the route they took, man. So they used to just imagine they're doing those trips. Go ahead. You say something?
So when you get up to the Caribbean,
yeah.
Then you go on a plantation from there.
Yeah. So the man driving the ship, they would drop you off. The plantation owners that had land back in the Caribbean, they would come and buy you. You would go straight on their plantation, and then the man with the ship, he would sail for Europe with all them riches and whatnot. Then they would unload it, make all their jumpers, their t-shirts, and so forth, get all the money in the world, and then they'd load it up with handkerchiefs and then sail back for Africa again, well, West Africa, and then get more slaves. And then also with slavery, certain colonies were good friends with some of the West Africans, so they would know who they was getting. So your Liverpool ones that owned that ship, they would go get their slaves from is it from Gambia, innit? I believe it was. Yeah. They would go get theirs from Ghana, and then another man, his friends would be in that area, so he would go and get his slaves from there. So obviously, one man would gather these people, a next man would go gather them people, a Frenchman would go gather some from over that side. And this is how kind of today we know kind of which tribes we're in, because it weren't a thing where they would just go and take everybody. They would have a specific region what they would go and pick their slaves from. Go ahead.
It's like today with drug dealers, like one man got his blood.
Exactly.
The white man had his connect.
Exactly.
And he know that his connect was Judah and his was Saul.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how it worked. Exactly. Go ahead. The Hispanics was already in the Americas. Also, when you look up the the Taino Indians, they was in they was in Jamaica way before we ever got there, and then the Spanish stepped foot on the land. The Spanish conquered them. Like after Columbus, they conquered them, killed them, and then they needed more slaves. And what happened is the British came to Jamaica, put some troops on the ground, basically ran the Spanish off. And then that's why Jamaica today is a British colony, whereas really it should be a Spanish colony. And that's why you got places in Jamaica called Spanish Town. What is it? De La Vega. All these are Spanish names because the Spanish used to rule over the Taino Indians in the Caribbean. And then obviously the British came. And the Spanish used to send ships to try and get Jamaica back. You used to send ships to try and get Jamaica back. And what did the white man do? He set up the what? He set up the pirates. You know about the pirates, innit? Captain. What's his name? And something Bellamy and Black Bart and yeah. So what he done is he set up the pirates. So pirates' job was to what? Rob the Spanish ships. So the white men set it up that they would plunder the Spanish ships to stop the Spanish from attacking them, to gain access back to the Caribbean. So then I can't remember. I think it was about 1555 or slightly after that. The Spanish surrendered. They surrendered, and then Britain had full rule over the Jamaica and other parts of the Caribbean. And then after that, the white man said to the pirates that he set up, "Okay, we don't need you no more now. The Spanish have gone. We don't need you no more." So he put the pirates out of a job. So what did these pirates do? They started robbing the British ships. So because they needed money somehow, so they started robbing the British ships. So what did the white man do after that? He set up the pirate hunters to come and hunt the pirates that he set up in the first place. So go ahead, you can say something.
Yeah, the pirate and the governor general, Henry Morgan, Captain Morgan. And they're such a good pirate, they made him the governor of Jamaica.
That's what I'm saying, man. So yeah, really, the pirates, the British set them up to stop the Spanish. The Spanish surrendered. The British tried to say to the pirates, "We don't need you no more. It's okay. The mission is complete." So the pirates still wanted to rob, because on them ships, remember them ships is carrying money, it's carrying gold, it's carrying cotton, it's carrying slaves. So the pirates said, "Nah, man, we need some money." They used to plunder the ships. And then they set up the pirate hunters. And then that's why there's one of them with the skull and bones, which what lets you know the pirates. So when you will see that, you know, all right, then they're coming to rob the ship. Then there's a next one, which was a next symbol, which was the pirate hunters. So what they would do, they would have a cannon, they would disable you. So this is, you don't read too much books in it. they'll disable your ship, they'll shoot the cannon and disable your ship. And then they used to plunder a few slave ships. So the pirates started to plunder slave ships and would sell these slaves on the black market. So you see, like, say for instance, how a car would go for like what? How a top of the range car would go for like 10 grand. If the pirates captured one of them, they would sell it for like $1,000 on the black market, meaning they would sell it without no papers behind the scene. So they used to capture slaves and sell them. Also, some of the black slaves that they did capture, if they could use them and realize, all right, this person was good at their job, this person knew what they was doing, they would add them to the pirate team. So you had a few black people on the pirate team, but obviously they weren't the big ones on the pirate team. Then it lets you know in one book with the pirates, they plundered the slave ship, and they got all the treasure, and they didn't want the slaves, so they just sunk the ship with the slaves on there, and just left all them slaves to die. They just sunk the ship with the slaves on there. But read that for me again.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
And it says, and the Lord shall bring thee to Egypt again with ships. Take that for me. Read page 18.
Page 18,
yeah, page 18. and this is a book right here letting you know how we went into slavery with ships, man. This is a ship right here called the Zong. There was a ship called the Black Joke. There was a ship called they used to name their ships. There was a ship called the Black Joke with bare slaves on there, man. Go ahead.
The Zong, page 18. A vast array of goods also found their way to Africa to be exchanged.
Hold on, what?
A vast array of goods also found their way to Africa.
So let me show you the triangular route again. It says a vast array of goods found their way to Africa. So these goods went from Europe to Africa. So it says a vast array of goods found their way to Africa. So the sailors went from Europe to Africa. Go ahead, let's see what they brought to Africa.
To be exchanged.
To what?
To be exchanged.
So the British loaded up their ships and then went to Africa to exchange. What did they exchange?
For slaves.
For what?
For slaves.
So they went from Europe with goods to exchange it for slaves. So this is the route they took from Europe to Africa to the Caribbean. Go ahead.
When Captain Crow from Liverpool.
Was from where?
From Liverpool.
So Captain Crow was from Liverpool, a white man. Go ahead.
Bought slaves in Bonny in the Bight of Biafra.
And he brought slaves in Bonny. Where's Bonny? That's in what, Nigeria. So he brought slaves from Nigeria. So he brought a boat of slaves from Nigeria. He went to Africa from Europe with goods. Go ahead, let's tell you what he went with.
In 1790, he offered in return textiles.
Yeah, offered what?
Textiles.
So in return for you, he took textiles from Europe and offered in return textiles. Go ahead.
Handkerchiefs.
Hold on, offered what?
Handkerchiefs.
Handkerchiefs. A handkerchief is what? Something that you blow your nose with, throw away when it gets too dirty or whatnot. So he went there with textiles, handkerchiefs. Go ahead.
A brass pan.
And what?
A brass pan.
So Batman, really, you got sold by these Africans you love so much for a handkerchief, a brass pan, and textiles. Go ahead.
Muskets.
A musket.
Yeah.
So he swapped you for a musket. He brought muskets. Go ahead.
Powder.
And powder, meaning your life is worth less than powder, man. Go ahead.
Flints.
Go ahead.
Shots. Knives. Iron pots. Hats.
And he swapped you for knives, iron pots, and hats. Like the white man's smart. The white man is a proper businessman. He brings nothing to Africa and swaps you and gets something valuable, man. Go ahead.
Come on. Pots, caps, cutlasses.
He swapped you for a cutlass, man. So you got swapped for a cutlass, which is like what? A machete. So a machete means more to these Africans that you love so much than you do. Go ahead.
Beads and brandy.
And beads and brandy, man. They swapped you for alcohol. They swapped you for beans and brandy. And with the Bible, it tells you that the soldiers still let people drink in it. And it's letting you know, man. In the book of John, we're going to get that also soon. So that was the route. They took all the goods from Europe, unloaded it in Africa, put you on the slave ship from Africa, took it to the Caribbean, took you off the ship there, loaded it with all the cotton, the candy, took it back to Europe, and then they'll go all that route. They'll keep doing that route. Just imagine you do that route 100 times. Just imagine how much money you're going to make. So slavery was a real business, man.
But sugar to this day is still a big business.
Exactly.
In England, they had recently the sugar tax. because they couldn't afford to put all the sugar in them drinks.
Exactly.
Couldn't afford to keep making it. So it goes to show that this day sugar is something expensive.
Exactly. Sugar's a big business, man. Read that again. No, not that again. Read on.
Liverpool's 18th century boom is made plain in its shipping data. In 1701, the city had 102 registered vessels.
Had what?
102 registered vessels.
So one stage, the white man had 102 registered vessels, which is what? He had 102 registered slave ships, man. These were registered. This weren't just something that wasn't registered and didn't have no insurance on. These things was registered, man. Go ahead.
A century later, he figured the figure stood at 796.
The figure stood at what?
796.
So how much did they have first?
102.
He had 102, and then a century later, how long is a century? 100 years? What's a century? 25 years, 100 years? What's a century? 100 years, yeah. So how much, in 100 years, how much more vessels did they add onto the ones that he had? He added how much? He added 694 vessels, which means what? If all these vessels was carrying about what? 300, 400 slaves. Calculate what? 794 vessels times by 400. Let's put it up on the calculator for me, because obviously that's a big number. Let's see how much slaves he was transporting, man, with all them vessels. 794 times by 400.
305,000.
305,000. Just imagine, man. And we don't know how often them vessels got sent out. We don't know how often them vessels got sent out. Which means what? 305,000, man. Just imagine how much money he's making. Just imagine if every ship that's coming back is bringing sugar and cotton and everything. Just imagine how much money he's making. Just imagine how much slaves is on the plantation getting their backs whipped, man, working sun up to sundown. Did you know that the slaves work what? 18-hour shifts. They work like 18-hour shifts and only got like, was it like 4 hours sleep? About 4 hours sleep. And even then they could hardly sleep. Their sheets was all damp and it was in filthy conditions. This is the life. Listen, this was the life of a slave, man. Go ahead.
In 1709, Liverpool handled over 14,600 tons of shipping.
Hold on, they handled what?
14,600
Listen,
tons.
off the back of you, they handled over 1,600 tons, man. How much tons can we send in one barrel? Elephants 1 ton.
I believe so.
So this
Lorries,
yeah.
lorries.
See,
they carry like goods to McDonald's and superstores.
exactly. And this man handled over 14,000. How much tons did he carry? Because you
14,600 tons.
14,600 tons, man. Just imagine you accumulated all that wealth you accumulated, but you didn't get to spend a penny of it.
An African elephant weighs between 2 and 7 tons average.
2 and 7 tons, damn. Obviously, the 2 ton one must be the African one that they're not feeding, and the 7 ton one must be the one on the high end. But read that again for me.
Handled over 14,600 tons of shipping.
And they handled 14,600 tons of shipping. Meaning what? And the thing is, the things that they're carrying, it's not heavy anyway. So just imagine if it gets to that weight, how much they must be shipping. Just like cotton's not heavy. So just, well, obviously it's heavy when you're a slave carrying a big bucket, but they shipped over 14,600 tons, man. And you're telling me this wasn't $1 billion business. And then what do you have from that now? You're just in the ghetto. You're just happy to be in England. You're just happy to survive. Not realizing people look down on us and be like, oh, how come black people don't own no businesses? How come black people don't own no shops? Listen, the white man's had a head start, man. He made all this money of us. And he was able to set up casinos, set up clubs, set up banks, set up the British Bank. And then from there, you never have to work again. You're never going to go broke, man. You're never going to go broke. So they set up all these banks, and we're the same ones that have to go to their banks to put our money in and so forth. So all these things really should belong to us. They what? Set up insurance companies off the money that they make off us. They put themselves in power and own everything off the money that they make off us. And the reason they can do that is because they ship how much tons?
14,600 tons.
So you produce all this, but you don't benefit from none of it. They ship all this, you don't benefit from none of it. So this is why they can be rich and make all the money in the world, because they've had a head start, man. They've had a head start. You're in the field for 18 hours, getting 4 or 5 hours of rest, can't even sleep. Then you have to go back out there the next day, working in the hot sun, getting whipped, being told what to do, while they just sit back and be lazy. And then they say that we lazy. How we lazy, man? This right here proves we ain't lazy. We got them 14, how much tons again?
14,600 tons of shipping.
14,600 tons of shipping. Go ahead. Anyone that?
But that had doubled by mid.
Hold on, but that had what?
That had doubled.
So listen, if you thought the first number was loads, it says it's doubled, man. It says it doubled, meaning what? Almost what? 30,000 tons. Almost doubled to what? Almost 30,000 tons of shipping, man. Meaning what? They had to go and get more slaves. They had to go and get more ships. They had to go and make more docks. They had to go and do all of that. Sell more handkerchiefs, more trips to Africa, and so forth. Go ahead.
That had doubled by mid-century, and by 1800 had risen to 450,000 tons.
Oh my gosh! By what?
450,000 tons.
So listen, this is your slavery, man. They got to ship more than 450,000 tons of sugar that you picked, cotton, everything else you did in slavery, man. All of that was going back to England. And these slave masters, most of them didn't even step foot in Jamaica or the Caribbean. All they would do is have a man underneath them working on the plantation. He's like the what? The manager, you could say. It's like your slavery. The man who owns the business, he don't work at the job. He just collects the money and so forth. Go ahead.
I like you work for like H&M. Never see H&M.
Yeah, exactly. You never see him. You just see the people underneath him. Same like you would never ever see who your slave master was. All you would know is he's an Englishman that's got a ton of money, and he's just put these people over you to watch over you. What do you call them? Taskmasters. He's just put a taskmaster over here. Overseer. He's just put an overseer over here. So then he wouldn't step foot in the Caribbean because he's seen it as dirty and the slaves there, and I'm so rich. Why do I need to go there? I can just stay in England, and they're going to ship me all my goods. All I have to do is go pick it up from the dock. Then I just go buy more slaves. Listen, most of these slave masters never even seen their slaves. They just know I got someone working for me. Same like if you were, if you work in McDonald's or somewhere, you don't see the owner of McDonald's. You see someone called Mike or whatever, Mike Johns. You see someone called Mike Johns or whatever. That's who you see. You don't see the owner of the McDonald's. You just see the man who's just in charge of making sure you carry out the work. Go ahead.
Plantation owner didn't even need a card.
Exactly.
Just get a check.
Exactly.
Make a signature. Buy more.
Yeah, exactly.
He didn't weave no cotton.
Exactly.
He did nothing.
Exactly. He would just buy a new plantation, put more workers there. He'll just buy a new plot, put more workers there. Go ahead. Any more on that?
The massive and growing movement of goods in and out of Liverpool required a revolution in the way the port handled its shipping.
So now they was getting so much riches that they needed a new way how to handle its shipping, man. You see how you got people that work for DPD during slavery? They had people that work for unloading the slave ships because it's not a one-man job. It was a business, man. Everyone had different roles to pay. One man was the sailor. One man was the doctor. One man waited at the docks. One man built the docks. One man built the ropes. One man done this. One man was the navigator who knew, all right, then that's the island there. That's the island there. It was a business that they all came together in order to capture you. The Africans had their part in it. They had a business as well. They wanted the handkerchiefs, and they figured instead of paying for them with money like normal people do, we'll just give these people who mean less than money, who mean less than anything. So you got handed over in exchange for a handkerchief. Go ahead. Was you gonna say something?
Yeah, today DPD. It's not about delivery. It's mechanics behind the scene.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Everyone, a big circle.
Exactly. So it weren't a thing like people read in Deuteronomy 28 and think, what, it happened just, nah, man. You was on them ships for months, 2 months, 3 months. You were shackled hand and feet. You had the bottom part, you had the top part. Go ahead, anyone that in the book?
In a way, the port handled the shipping. Above all, it required the construction of new docks.
It required the what?
Construction of new docks.
Because you was making them so much money. They needed new docks, man. They had so much ships going in and out of Liverpool that they needed new docks. They needed new docks. They needed new ports. They needed more workers. It's like a business, man. What do people say? The business is expanding. They need more workers. Our employer and the business, when we're doing better business. At this stage, the white man's doing better business. So what did he do? Figured we're going to get more docks. We're going to get more ports. We're going to put more people on the payroll. Go ahead.
The docks were ships could be loaded and unloaded free from the Mersey's powerful tidal flows.
And listen, man, they needed a place to unload and load. Go ahead.
The first dock, the old dock was built.
Now, this is giving you a rundown of the docks. Now, these docks, you can look them up and you probably can go there, right? Probably can go there and see if they're still there. I know there's a few in Liverpool, few ports in Liverpool and whatnot. So these is the docks. Also, remember this, slaves didn't get brought to England on slave ships. Slaves got brought to the Caribbean. The goods got brought to England. Because obviously some of these fake Israelite groups probably be teaching that slaves stepped off the ship in England. Nah, man, that didn't happen, man. You got brought to the Caribbean. Listen, when you came here was the Windrush, man. That's when you came here, man. You didn't come here on no slave ship, man. You went to the Caribbean or wherever else on slave ships. And then you came here on the Windrush. Go ahead.
Was built in 1750.
So this one is 1750. These docks have names, so you can just write down the names if you want to look them up. See if they're still there, just in case you wanted to just go on a little trip with your video camera to see, like, do a bit of history and whatnot. Go ahead.
Then followed the Salt House dock in 1739. Then 1738.
Then they made the next dock, the Salt House dock. Go ahead. These was all in Liverpool, right? Yeah, these we went there, innit? I believe we went. Yeah, we went to these ones. Go ahead.
George's dock in 1762.
St. George's dock in 1762. That's the next one.
Duke's dock in 1773.
Another dock they set up.
The King and Queen's dock in 1788.
The what?
The Queen and King's dock.
The royals that you love so much, man. The Kings and Queens dock. There's more docks. Go ahead.
1788 and 1796. All were owned until 1825 by Liverpool Corporation.
By who?
By Liverpool Corporation.
Says all these docks were owned by Liverpool Corporation. Now, what's a corporation? Pull up what a corporation is. Just so people know it's just not 5 white boys that, look like Homer Simpson, drink beer all day, thinking they could just come and take us. It was a business, man. This was this was white men whose word held weight, man. It was like not anyone. It's like today, not anyone can just arrest you. You think I can't just go to someone and say you're under arrest, you go in jail for 10 years. I can't do that. But these people here had the power to do that. They had the power to come and take you. Read that for me.
Corporation. A large company.
A what?
A large company.
So a large company owned these docks, man. Slavery was run by businesses and companies. It wasn't just nobodies. It was run by businesses and companies, man. Go ahead.
A large company or group of companies.
Or group of companies. That's what corporation is. So take that into consideration, man. That these these MPs that you love so much, Professor Green and the Queen and whatnot, all these people is people who would have been part of that corporation. A corporation is a company which is letting you know one company owned the docks, one company owned the ships, one company employed sailors, one company employed doctors. It's like now anyone can't just be like, oh, I'm a doctor. Let me give you open heart surgery. You're gonna be like, you what? They had professional doctors, man. So the people that the white people that you look at with such high regard, they're the ones that they had on the payroll, man. But all of them had a part in it. Even the lowest of them, the poor white man, he had a part in it too, man. From his putting sugar in his tea, he had a part in your slavery. From his wearing a t-shirt, he had a part in your slavery, man. Go ahead. Was there anyone? Go ahead.
Sister
Go ahead.
May I have a breakdown on Deuteronomy 28 and 37.
Yeah, get that for me.
Deuteronomy 28 and 37. Oh. 28 and 37. And thou shalt be an astonishment, a proverb and a byword amongst all nations.
Says you're going to be a proverb and a byword. Now, what's the example of a byword? You know, this is proverb. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. So we should be a proverb and a byword. Now pull up a byword, and this will give you what a byword is. Read it for me. All right, go ahead.
Byword, a person or thing cited as a notable and outstanding example.
As a what?
Outstanding example.
And listen, you're a proverb and a byword. What are you? What do you call you? Lazy, good for nothing, a gorilla, a monkey. What else do they call us?
Gollywog.
A gollywog. You're the people that everyone looks at. Like people at astonishment, they look at you like, these people got no shame, man. These people this, these people that. Yeah. A proverb and a byword. Everyone looks down on you, man. Everyone looks at you like you're rubbish. And this is us, man. This is a perfect precept to add to your slavery scriptures, because this is what they do. And this is why this is why they murder you like it's nothing, because to them, you're just a proverb and a byword, and you're just an astonishment. Go ahead. Yeah, the blackface, yeah. Yeah, the blackface t-shirt and so forth. Things like that. Go ahead, just any more on that.
And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb and a byword among all nations.
Among who?
Among all nations.
And you're a proverb and a byword amongst all nations. That's what the East Indians have named for you in their language. Yeah, what do they call you? A kala and a kuta, which means what? A dog. They call you. They have names for you in their language. Chinese call you things as well in their language. Polish people call you things also. The white man calls you things because you're a proverb and a byword amongst all nations. So all nations who have never met each other, an East Indian man who's never met a white man, that's never met a Chinese man, all in their mind is like, these niggas, man, he's good for nothing. All in their mind, they've never spoke to one another, but they can just look at you and they all see the same thing. They all see, yo, let's make merchandise of this guy. Let's do this, let's do that. They've never spoke to it. They don't even speak the same language. They don't speak the same language, but they all got the same, what's it called when it comes to you? Same proverb, same byword, same thought process. Listen, an East India man that hardly knows everything, he can look at you and he just knows, yo, that's a slave. And they just know that's a slave. The white man looks at you, he knows that's a slave. African man looks at you, he knows that you're a slave. They know these things. Go ahead.
Come. Among all the nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee.
Amongst all the nations, man. And we've been led amongst all the nations. This is why we're scattered all throughout. Because you know what happened also? Another thing in slavery. Now, white men begin to get slave ships and get slaves. Guess what happened? The French wanted to start doing it. Who else wanted to start doing it? The Portuguese started doing it. Americans started doing it. So this is why, and the Spanish, and this is why all of us speak different language, because they all said, that slavery shit's working. Why don't we all do this and get some slaves? So one man would, if you don't want to step on your patch, he would do what? Go get the Judites from over there. Go get someone from over there. Go get someone from over there. And then they all would have their own individual patch. So the British would usually go back to the same place, parts of Gambia, parts of Nigeria, Ghana. They would go there because that's where their link was. Their link was in that part of West Africa. And then the others had their link elsewhere. The French had their link. The Portuguese had their link. This is why we all speak different languages. So really, if the British didn't conquer the Spanish, we would be speaking what? Spanish. We would be a Spanish colony right now. We would be speaking Spanish. Because the British obviously took over them, this is why we speak in English. So yeah, really, all of us says, the whole nation of Israel, we want somebody's colony right now. Whether it's the white man, whether it's the British man, the French, the Portuguese, the Spanish. Go ahead. Venezuela. Yeah, that's parts of what is it? Guatemala. Yeah. What would you say is happening to them? Everything which is happening to all 12 tribes of Israel it's been happening from then up until now. So every tribe's in a bad condition. From you're not in your own homeland and you're a slave to another nation, that's a bad condition enough. But some just have it worse than others, whereas some will have the dirty water, some will have this, some will have that. Whereas we're all slaves to the white men. We're all in a bad position. So really it's all prophecy that we're in a land that's not ours. We're amongst the Gentiles. We're being killed. We're in captivity. We got no brotherhood. The whole Bible is all prophecy. So anything from Deuteronomy 28, even before that, it's all prophecy. So anything in there where it goes, we shall go to a man for clothes and for food, and we need to ask his permission for everything, this and that. It's all prophecy, really. So you can, everything what's going on there, you can always relate all of that back to the Bible. Even what's going on here, you can Brexit, whatever, with our people. You can relate that back to the Bible, even though Brexit's a white man's thing, but our position in it, you can relate everything back to the Bible, that we're so low and whatnot. But go ahead.
Thou shalt carry much seed out of the field, and gather but little in.
They shall what?
Carry much seed out into the field.
Says they shall gather much seed out into the field, man. You can also relate this on topic to what we're going into, man. How much cotton did you pick, man? How much sugar cane did you cut? How much tobacco did you cut? And you shall gather what?
But ye shall gather little in.
But ye shall gather little in, man. Of all them tons, you got near enough nothing, man. Go ahead, who's gonna say something?
I'm saying, like 14,000 tons.
And it doubled?
And an elephant is what? Like 6 tons.
Exactly.
And I was seeing 6 ton lorries.
Exactly.
Like, Sainsbury's logo on there. And they fill out supermarkets.
Exactly.
And they wasn't close to what the white man was. That's a 6 ton lorry. And the white man was in his tons in the thousands. That wasn't close.
Exactly. So just imagine how much money you made. Take me to page 77.
Page 77. Robert Stubbs had been master of the black joke.
Hold on, he was master of the what?
The black joke.
You see how he said you're a proverb and a byword? He named the ship the black joke. The ship was called the black joke. Black man, they see your pain and suffering as a joke, man. You on slave ships shackled up, to them it's a joke. Go ahead.
One of the most ironically named of all slave vessels.
One of the most ironically named of slave vessels. Now, the slave ships, they had names, man, to what distinguish one ship from another. So one was called the Zong, one was called the Black Joke, one was called the Good Ship Jesus, they say. And there was a few more, man. Go ahead.
And surely no accident.
And it was no accident that they named it the Black Joke. And you know why they named it the Black Joke? Read my mind, because we are what? Exactly, because we are a proverb and a byword. So that's why they named it the Black Joke. Go ahead.
These from the French.
Hold on, it was what?
These from the French.
So imagine this was a British ship. So you remember, like what I said, how the white men set up pirates to stop them plundering the ships. Now this was a British ship which was seized by the French. So imagine you're on a slave ship, shackled up. Some people come and steal the ship. You're gonna think, yo, they might free you, right? Usually someone comes and steals the ship. You're thinking, all right, then this man here's the devil. This man here's took the ship off him. Is this the police coming to save me? You're thinking, is this the police coming to save me because you're shackled up on chains? So now the French have seized the ship. Go ahead. These
from the French. This 100-ton ship has sailed from London to Gambia.
Hold on, it sailed from where?
London to Gambia.
So this ship sailed from London to Gambia. So they took handkerchiefs from London to Gambia. It was seized by the French. It was seized by the French after this stage. Go ahead.
The English seized it from the French.
The English seized it from. No, it says the French. I'm sure it says the French seized it from the English.
From the French, so they took it.
Oh, they took it. Yeah, the English. Yeah. Go ahead.
In 1757.
Yeah, the English seized it from the French because obviously these couldn't get on. There was, they wanted money. So they just basically, this is meant to be his patch. The British, no, we can't have that. It's good to make money. We're going to take it. Like out of every white man, the British is what the most barbaric. So they say. So what the Spanish, they was over there in the Caribbean. What did the British say? I was thinking it. The French took it.
The French took it.
Yeah, the French stole it. Yeah, go ahead.
God. But the black Joe was again seized, repossessed by the French.
It was what?
Repossessed by the French.
So it was repossessed. Hold on, did the British steal it first? I'm sure the British stole it first.
The British stole it from the French.
And the French stole it back. Yeah, go ahead.
The surviving Africans were delivered not.
Hold on. So listen, those Africans, well, Israelites on this ship, as it's being seized, anyone would think these people are going to free the slaves, man. Because that's what you'd think, right? Imagine you thinking, yo, this man you thinking this man's the devil. Surely this man can't be more evil than that man. But obviously, every white man's the same. Go ahead.
The surviving Africans were delivered not to the British colony.
So these ones were meant to be delivered to a British colony, which is like what, the Jamaica somewhere, the Caribbean, wherever the British ruled. So these people on the ship, the British had them on there because they was going to deliver them to a British colony. But the French, they seized the ship. Now let's see what the French did with them. Go ahead.
Were delivered not to a British colony, but to the French island of Martinique.
But they did what?
But to the French island of Martinique.
So the French seized the ship and you was on there and they took you to Martinique. Where's Martinique in the Caribbean, right? And this is why people from Saint Martin and Martinique speak what? French in it. And this is why they speak French till today. Because, and Dominica as well in it. And you know why they speak French? Because they was of a French colony. The French seized the ship from the British and took them to a French colony. So what's going to happen? You're going to learn French. Same like we learned British at a British colony. So it's like I said again. Yeah, we learn English. So lucky not British. We learn English in a British colony. So they seized the ship. Instead of freeing the slaves, man, they took them to a French colony, which lets you know it was a business and it was all about money. Go ahead.
Little thought was spared for the Africans.
Little thought was spared for these people that's been on the ship that thought they was going this place. But then imagine this. You see one scary white man speaking a language you don't know. He gets overthrown. Then you have another white man speaking another language you don't know, telling you, yo, we're turning the ship, we're going that way. Just imagine how scary that would be, man. You're on the ship going somewhere, you don't know where, you're shackled. You're thinking, is this a movie? You're hoping it's a dream because you've been stolen by one man just to get stolen by another man. Go ahead.
Ain't nothing changed today. All this Brexit and change of government, that's happening above us. We're at the bottom of the ship.
Exactly.
Wherever the ship's going to go.
That's where we going. Exactly. That's a good point, man. Wherever they go is where we going. Same like that. Wherever they wanted to go, that's where we going, man. Go ahead. Any more on that?
All sides shared a broadly based consensus that the African was a commodity.
Hold on, that the what?
Africans were a commodity.
And they looked at you as a commodity. What's a commodity? A commodity is like what? Stock is basically like a basically you're just good for you're just good for making everybody else rich, man. That's all you're good for. They seen you as that. They didn't see you as a human with a heart, with a family. They didn't see you as that. They didn't see you as a man. There's a coin where it says, I'm not a man and a brother. Have you seen it? That coin where it says, I'm not a man and a brother. Listen, the white man don't see you as a man and he don't see you as a brother. He sees you as, you see how you would just use your car to get you from A to B. The white man sees you as less than a car, man. Go ahead.
An item of trade.
A what?
An item of trade.
And you're just an item of trade? So you think they care that you're missing your family? You think they care if you live or die? You're just a slave and you're just an item of trade. You're just something to swap for something else. To Africans, you're just worth less than a handkerchief, man. You're just worth less than a bottle of brandy, man. So lucky, pass me that bottle real quick. What one's that one? The cheap one? Give me hold that, but give me Joel chapter 3 and verse 6. Pass this one. Like, listen, black man, what's this? This is brandy as well. Listen, to the white man, this is worth more than you, man. To the African, he would rather have this than have you, man. The Africans that you love so much, this bottle right here is worth more than you are, man. They would give you away for brandy, man. Meaning what? The children of God is worth less. So, like, how much did this bottle of brandy cost? How much does a bottle of brandy go for? A tenner, man. Look, they said this bottle of brandy costs like a tenner, man. Meaning your life is worth less than a tenner, and you're the children of God, and they got rid of you for less than a tenner. There you go, sis, you can take the bottle. Joel chapter, hold that in the book, but give me Joel chapter 3 and verse 6.
Joel 3 and 6. The children of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have you sold unto the Grecians.
Have you what?
Sold unto the Grecians.
Says the children of who?
The children of Judah and the children of Jerusalem.
So it says, have you sold unto the Grecians? Who's the Grecians? The white men. Who's it saying that sold us to Africans? So right here, it's saying the same thing the book said. They sold them in Africa for handkerchiefs. Here it's saying they sold them to the Grecians. So this is how you know the Bible's true, man. This right here was written before we went on the slave ship. Go ahead.
That ye might remove them far from their border.
And they removed us far from our border. We crossed the what? Atlantic. We crossed them oceans, man. We crossed them oceans. They removed us far from our borders. And now, yeah, you meant to go to a British colony, but you end up on a French one. They removed us far from our borders. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Verse 3. And ye have cast lust from my people, and have given a boy for an harlot.
And have what?
Given a boy for an harlot.
Given a boy for a harlot, man, because the white men's are homosexual. What did you call it? Breaking the book. The white man would buy men slaves to have sex with them, rape the young girls, rape the young boys. That's the white man's nature. Listen, if you're going to enslave a people, why do you have to kill them? Can't you just... You said they're for work and trade. Why don't just make them work? But the white man has to be barbaric with it. He has to kill you. He has to rape you. I mean, but shit, when was that in the contract? Obviously, these bros thought that we're going into slavery to, you know, pick cotton and whatnot. But instead now this man, he wants to rape men and so forth. Go ahead.
And sold the girl for wine.
And sold the girl for wine, man. Meaning that bottle right there is worth more than our sisters, man. That bottle right there is worth more than our daughters, man. To him, go ahead.
That ye might drink. And
they wanted, listen, the African man wanted some brandy, so you had to go, man. Instead of him buying brandy like a normal person, he just gave you up for that bottle of brandy. Go ahead.
Yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Sidon?
These two African nations.
And all the coasts of Palestine, will you render me a recompense?
Jump to verse 6. What for 28? Yeah.
The children of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have been sold unto the Grecians, that ye might remove them far from their border.
Go ahead.
Behold, I will raise them out of the place whither ye have.
And listen, man, one day the Lord's going to raise up out of the place where they've sold us, man. They sold us. they sold us from there, took us there, sold us again. But from there, go back to the book. I believe there's more on that page, right? There's more on that page.
God.
Okay, go ahead.
Something to be bought, sold, haggled over and used.
Hold on, we was what?
Sold, to be brought, haggled over and used.
And we was haggled over and used, man. They used us. You see how you use your phone? They used us like we was their phone, man. They looked at us like these people don't need no rest. These people don't need no sleep. These people don't need no this. These people don't need no that, man. Go ahead.
Khan, it is core belief, which was to be essential but particularly needful issue under Zong in 1781.
Go ahead.
No one doubted the indispensability of the African.
No one cared about us, man, basically. Go ahead.
And most sides were united in the view that without African labor, the American plantation could not function.
Hold on, without what?
Without African labor, the American plantation could not function.
So without us, they realized that they couldn't function, man. From there, give me Isaiah chapter 42 and verse 22. They realized that with us, they can't function. They realized that with us, they can't become rich. They can't set up the Bank of England, which was set up on the back of slavery. They can't set up the NHS, which was set up on the back of slavery. Now they're trying to charge for the NHS. Meanwhile, it was built after. Sorry, say that again. Yeah, the thinking about which was built on the back of our slavery, man. Go ahead.
Isaiah 42 and 22. But this is a people robbed and spoiled.
This is a people robbed and spoiled, man. We got robbed by the British. And then we got robbed by the French. And we were spoiled, man. Robbed and spoiled. Go ahead.
They are all of them snared in holes.
And we snared in holes, man. In traps and so forth. Go ahead.
And they are hid in prison houses.
And listen, we was hid on them slave ships. In the slave ships, you know you had a compartment that used to lift up like that. And then the slaves was underneath there. They was underneath there in the dark, shackled, crying, singing songs. Some are dead, so forth. Go ahead.
God. And they are hid in prison houses. They are for a prey, and none delivereth.
They are for a what?
A prey, and none delivereth.
They are for a prey, and none delivereth. Now go back to the part where it says instead of them putting them on the British colony, the French put them on the French one. Get that for me. It should be on there somewhere.
But the black drop was seized, repossessed by the French. The surviving Africans were delivered not to a British colony. And the Bible says none delivereth, man. Meaning what? If we knew the Bible back then, we would have knew, all right, then this man's the devil. He ain't gonna take us back. People probably thought this man was coming to save them. They probably thought this man was a hero coming to save the day. Listen, the white man could never be a hero, man. The white man's the devil. The Bible speaks. So just understand, every white man you see is the same, man. Go ahead. But to the French island of Martinique.
And they took them to the French island of Martinique to be a slave there. The Bible says none delivereth. Read that again for me in the Bible. It says none delivereth.
God. But this is a people robbed and spoiled.
This is a people robbed and spoiled, man. We those people. The Bible right now is telling you about us. Go ahead.
They all of them are snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses. They are for a prey, and none delivereth.
And none delivereth. So you thought the French was going to come and deliver you back to where they took you from? Nah, man. You was going straight on the French colony, man. It was either way, you was going to be a slave to someone. You was either going to be a slave to the British, a slave to the Spanish, a slave to the French. There's no way you was walking off scotch-free, man. The white man doesn't know about freedom. Take me back to the book. Was there any more on that page, or was that it? Give me Ezekiel chapter 36 and verse 19.
Ezekiel 36 and 19. And I scattered them among the heathen, and they were dispersed through the countries.
And we was dispersed through the countries, man. This is how we got dispersed through the countries. Different white folks from different nations taking us, the French, the Spanish. We was dispersed amongst all these people. The French would have their links they would go to get slaves. The Spanish would have theirs. The British would have theirs. And as a nation, we was dispersed. Go ahead.
According to their way and according to their doings, I judged them.
And listen, we got judged by the Lord, man, but the white man took it way too far. Go ahead.
And when they entered unto the heathen, whither they went, they profaned my holy name.
That's it on that. Give me a page. Give me page chapter 91 in that book. Yeah, page 91. Yeah. So listen, slavery was a rough thing, man. It weren't no joke. It weren't just, oh, you're just going on a ship to just pick up. It was more than that. What you got to remember is, in the process of you getting to the Caribbean, you don't even know if you was going to make it. Read that highlighted part for me.
Page 91. Water was especially important.
So now on the slave ship, what did they used to feed you now? Water was important. Listen, I'll read on. It was explain it. Go ahead.
Water was especially important on a slave ship, more so perhaps than on other vessels, largely because of the peculiar conditions on board. Because of the peculiar conditions on board. Meaning on board, what did you have? People starving, people dying, people were sick, people had you have diarrhea as a symptom, but it's not diarrhea, it's worse than diarrhea. The proper term is, it's written in the book, but come on, bro, it's worse than diarrhea. There's people sick. Imagine you got someone next to you, diarrhea, or defecating beside you, women on their period all beside you. The conditions was disgusting, man. And listen, that's a 3-month trip. Go ahead. And because the location of the voyage, slave ships.
The voyage just means what? The long distance travel. A voyage just means long distance travel. Go ahead.
Slave ships packed with hundreds of people in a crowded, dehydrated.
Hold on, slave ships was what?
Crowded,
it says slave ships was packed with hundreds of people, and the people on them ships was dehydrated. Just imagine one thing: you packed up like a tin of sardines. You're damn near claustrophobic. And you're dying of you're dehydrated. All you want is a drink. All you want is some water, some food. Go ahead.
Dehydrating and suffocating environment.
And what?
Suffocating.
And you're in a suffocating environment, man. Because there's piss and shit and period blood and sluck. Excuse my French. Everything else everywhere. Excuse my French. I must got to take to what Martinique colony. Excuse my French. Go ahead.
Ply their trade in a saping heat of tropics.
And imagine that is hot as well. And then you got the smell of all the everybody. Give me a better word for it. Everybody's feces. Imagine it's hot and everybody's feces is there. There's vomit there. There's blood there. There's people dying there. There's people with all types of diseases there because of the conditions. That's how we traveled, man. Go ahead. We didn't come here by no Uber. We didn't come here by no first class. Listen, the African man came to England first class, man. We didn't come first class. We came shackled. Go ahead.
The Africans needed regular water.
And we needed regular water because obviously dehydrated. It's hot. You're in them horrible conditions. Go ahead. You're in the dark most of the time as well. Go ahead.
Simply to remain hydrated.
And we needed water to remain hydrated. The white man's the devil, man. He barely gave us that. Go ahead.
Particularly when they were cramped below.
Because on the ship you had two parts, some at the top, some at the bottom. Go ahead.
The crew too needed ample supplies of liquid.
And the crew needed ample supplies of liquid as well because it was a long journey for them too. Go ahead.
There was strenuous, back-breaking daily labor compounded by difficulties Europeans faced of debilitating toil in the tropics.
Go ahead.
In the early days of the slave trade, Europeans were divided about how much water to give Africans.
So now, when we was on the slave ships, the merchants was divided of how much water to give us, how much water should they give us. Go ahead.
Some ships, doctors had been reluctant.
So doctors, see, it's letting you know that there was doctors on the slave ships because it was a business, man. Everyone had a part. You see, like how you have a doctor on a, what do you have a doctor on? You have a doctor near enough everywhere you go in on a plane. Do you have one on a plane? Yeah, you have a doctor on a cruise ship, plane. The military, the RAC, RAF, whatever. Same like here, they had doctors on the slave ships. Even boxers have one. They got doctors everywhere, so that's their job. Go ahead. These doctors was reluctant to give you water. Go ahead.
Reluctant to give Africans more than a few regular spoonfuls.
Hold on, they used to give them what?
A few regular spoonfuls.
So imagine you're on this slave ship. They only give you a few spoonfuls of water, man. Just a few. A few is like what? 3, 4. In one part, it says they gave them 3 spoons of water, man. Imagine that. All you get is 3 spoons of water. The white man's the devil, man. Listen, the white man's the devil, man. Imagine this. You're shackled up. You're near enough dying. And someone comes with 3 spoons of water. Listen, nowadays, you get to walk around free. And you even 3 spoons of water don't do nothing for you. It won't do nothing. Listen, you've probably never had 3 spoons of water in your life, man. 3 spoons of water is so low. It's pointless. Not even a glass. Doctors want to give 3 spoons of water, man. This is why we say the white man's the devil, man. Nobody can't tell me different. Go ahead.
From the belief that too much water caused diarrhea.
That too much what?
Too much water caused diarrhea.
And they believe too much water caused diarrhea, so they would only give you 3 spoons of water. Go ahead. What was they drinking?
Yeah, like they're saying that it causes diarrhea.
Exactly. Exactly. Meanwhile, they was drinking all the water they had, the best of the supplies. We just had the rations. Go ahead. That was it on that part. From there, take me to jump to page 97. I'm gonna try to go through this quick for time.
Page 97. There were now an estimated 380 Africans on board.
So now this is a slave ship. There's 380 Israelites on board, man. 380 slaves on board. On board. Go ahead.
Many of whom were sick.
Many of what?
Many of whom were sick.
So on the slave ship, there was 380, and many of them was sick. And why are they sick? Because they're shackled up. Everyone's got all sorts of illnesses. Just imagine this: if one man's got a fever there, a next man's got a temperature there, a next man's got the runs there, The next man's got this there. Everybody's going to end up with everything, man. That's how it was. Go ahead.
It was at this point on any slave voyage, only days from landing, that the ship's doctors were usually busy preparing Africans for
So now, at this stage, because there was days away from landing, he was preparing them for sail. They were sick. What did he used to do? He used to oil them up. It sounds gay as hell. He used to oil them up, man. So lucky. He used to oil them up, getting them ready to be sold. He used to oil them up, make sure they look like they was in good order. It's like when you go to sell a car, what do? You get the car cleaned, you get the car polished, you get the car T-cut, so you can get maximum money for it. You even give it a service so it drives smooth, even though you know that it's not working properly. This is what the doctors did. Their job was to clean up the slaves, man. Get them ready for sale. Go ahead.
Washing and cleaning the captives.
And they wash them and clean them. Go ahead.
Oiling their skin to give it a less sickly pallor.
So these people looked sick. Just imagine you've been shackled for 2 months, 3 months. You're going to look ill. You got a fever, everything. You're going to be weak and dry and everything. He oiled you up so you look like you're in working order and like you're ready to go hit the cotton field straight away. So he done all of that. Go ahead.
The most wretched, afflicted with dysentery.
With what?
Dysentery.
So dysentery is a it's a sickness. It was like your intestine. It is a sickness of you got something going on with your intestines and you get it from being exposed to bacteria and viruses. So it was something which was going on with your intestines. If you have it too long and it's not treated, you can die. Now, once you have that, a symptom of that would be diarrhea. So a lot of these people had diarrhea because they had that thing which was wrong with their intestines. So it says the ones which was afflicted, it's going to tell you what he done with them. Go ahead.
Were bunged up.
Hold on, what?
Were bunged up.
The white man's the devil, man. These people had the runs and they was bunged up. Go ahead.
With oakum.
Oakum is like rope. So he got the rope. He shoved the rope up there behind the man and put cotton up there. So imagine you got the runs, but it can't come out because obviously you bunged up, but it wants to come out. So what's going to happen? Eventually, it's all going to go back up in your system, probably kill you, man. Imagine that. You got the runs, it's all leaking out, but he's blocked it all up so it don't come out. This is what the white man was doing to us during slavery, man. Bunged us up with oakum and what? And cotton, man. Bunged you up, man. Just so he could get a sale. He don't care about your health. He don't care whether you live or die. He just wants to bunge you up so he can sell you, man. Go ahead.
The Africans had to be scrubbed and smartened.
And they scrub them and smarten them. Just like when you go for a slavery today, what do people usually do? Get smartened. Same thing, man. When you go for a job today, you have to get smartened, man. Put on a 3-piece suit, all of that. The white man was doing this right here to get a sale. Go ahead.
And the blemishes of sickness and trauma disguised.
And they disguise the sicknesses and trauma, man. Go ahead.
To make them as attractive and valuable as possible.
To make them as attractive and as valuable as possible. Meaning, the better they look, the more money they could get for them. Like a car, the more it's polished and T-cut and the less scratches, you can get more money for it. Go ahead.
Jamaica, the crew, now numbering only 11 men,
go ahead,
were assembled and asked what they thought of the suggestion that faced with the water crisis.
So now, this is a part where there was low on water. So they all came together and said, what we're going to do about this water crisis? We haven't got enough water for everybody. Go ahead.
Part of the slaves should be destroyed.
Hold on, part of the what?
Slaves should be destroyed.
So because they didn't have enough water on the ship, because they sacked the man whose job it was to check the supplies, and they missed their turning, they went past where it was meant to be. They said, we ain't got enough more water. Some of the slaves should be destroyed. Meaning to kill some of the slaves, man. Go ahead.
And the rest, and to save the rest, and the remainder of the slaves and the crew put to short allowance.
Go ahead.
No one on board objected.
No one on board objected, man. Go ahead.
To the suggestion that they should kill some of the slaves.
So they said, yeah, all right, then we're going to have to kill some of these slaves because we ain't got enough water for everybody. Go ahead.
And they set about the murderous work immediately.
And they set about, all right, then which ones are going to kill? Go ahead.
At 8 p.m. that same evening, 54 women and children were pushed overboard.
Hold on, 54 what?
54 women and children were pushed overboard.
So during slavery, it said they killed 54 women and children. Just imagine you're a man shackled up. You've got wife and kids that you love so much, And because this man's got a water shortage, it throws them overboard, and you can hear them drowning, man. You can hear your wife drowning. You can hear your kids drowning. Because this man made the error by driving. It's his fault that he's the one who drove past the thing. He's the one that didn't check the water supplies. So what? We must die for it, man. He pushed them overboard. Imagine your kids, you got your little daughters that you love so much, your sons you love so much. Imagine some white man pushes them overboard, man. Imagine you see a white man kill them, man. Imagine you see your kid you love so much drown to death. Imagine your wife you love so much drowns to death. Listen, I just have to say something. Fuck the white man, man. He's the devil, man. Go ahead. It's a lucky, excuse my French, but listen, I have to say, I can't stand him, man. And if you love him, I don't know what to say, man. He pushed 54 women and kids off the ship, man. Go ahead.
As Kelso later described, tingling through the cabin windows, the timing was important.
Go ahead.
Darkness was falling, and the change in the ship was allowed all hands
Go ahead.
to be available for the killings.
And listen, they wanted all hands available for the killings, man. Meaning what? They wanted the doctor, they wanted the sailor, and everyone else. Go ahead. 2
days later on, the 1st of December, a group of 42...
So hold on. First day, they killed 54 women and children. Now, they killed 42 men. Imagine this, man. You're a child, you see your father getting ready to drown. Imagine you don't know if you're going to drown next. Go ahead.
God, 42 men were drowned overboard from the quarter deck.
42 men was drowned, man. 54 women and children. Then that wasn't enough. 54 wasn't enough. They drowned an extra 48, man. Go ahead.
God, a third batch of 38 Africans.
Then a third batch. This is more. They killed 38 more, man. How much they're going to kill? So already they've already drowned over 100 people, man. Go ahead. Exactly. And they're dead already, man. Go ahead.
Some time later, 10 Africans realizing what was about to happen.
So listen, 10 more realizing what was about to happen, man. They were scared for their life. They realized what was about to happen. Go ahead.
Jumped overboard.
They did what?
Jumped overboard.
So 10 just killed themselves, man, because they couldn't bear it, man. Give me hold that right there. We're gonna go back there. Give me Deuteronomy 28 and 65. They jumped overboard, man. Imagine this. You see your kids killed, your wife killed. You're thinking, what else have I got to live for, man? You've seen it with your own eyes. Do you know how traumatic it is to see someone die in front of you? And you're seeing someone get thrown in the water, the next minute they disappear, man. You hear them screaming on top of the water, then they disappear. Just imagine that. Go ahead.
Deuteronomy 28 and 65. And among these nations shall thou find no ease.
We ain't found no ease, man. We didn't find no ease then. Go ahead.
Neither shall the sole of thy foot find rest.
Once we got off them slave ships, we got no rest, man. Go ahead.
But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart.
And listen, these men right here that jumped overboard had a trembling heart, man. They were scared for their life for what their eyes had seen. Imagine you see your wife killed, your kids killed. Listen, man. Go ahead. Deuteronomy 28 and what one was it? 28 and 65. Yeah, go ahead.
And failing of eyes.
And what?
Failing of eyes.
Their eyes failed them, man. Imagine this, man. You see your daughter getting thrown off a ship, knowing you're never going to see her again. You're never going to see her again. Your wife, you're never going to see her again, man. That hurt, man. Their eyes failed, man. Some of these like took their own life. That's it on that. Take me back to the book. I'm going to try quickly rush it for time's sake.
God jumped overboard to their death.
They rather would die than be a slave, man. They jumped overboard to their death. Go ahead.
Somehow, one of the Africans managed to clamber back on board.
Go ahead.
The killings took place in small manageable batches. The
killings took place in batches. Go ahead.
The men were thrown overboard, handcuffed in irons.
And they threw them overboard, still handcuffed in iron, man. Imagine that. Your hands, you're shackled, you drown, and you can't even... Listen, the white man, anyone with decency would be like, you know what, if I throw you off the ship, just try to swim somewhere else. This man don't even want you to do that, man. He throws you off knowing you're going to die. That's how little regards he holds for your life, man. Go ahead.
According to Kelso, to make the process less dangerous for the vigilant group, it was the other Africans penned below the deck. What was happening?
So the ones below the deck could hear their people screaming, seeing them getting taken to get thrown off board. It was obvious to them that was happening. Imagine you got no might, you got no power to do anything. All you can do is just sit there in chains and watch your people die, knowing it possibly could be you next. Go ahead.
They must have heard the killings.
They must have heard the killings, man. Go ahead.
It was no easy matter to heave a human being overboard.
And listen, they heard them getting thrown overboard. Imagine you hear a body splash in the water, man. You hear screaming, and you know that could be you next. Go ahead.
Even when they were shackled, Robert Stubbs, innocently marginal to those events in his evidence, later told that the court, I heard some of the shrieks.
You heard what?
Some of the shrieks.
So listen, man, when they was killing us, they heard our shrieks, man. They heard our cries. They heard our screams. Is there any more in that part? Go ahead.
People tend not to go to a violent death without a noisy struggle.
And this was a violent death, and they went with a noisy struggle, man. You think they wanted to die? You think they wanted to drown to death with sharks following the ship? They didn't want that, man. But the white man's the devil, man. Go ahead.
And though the evidence is about the last brutal moment of the murdered Africans is sparse, we know enough and can easily imagine more.
What verse? What chapter page? Yeah, go ahead. Anyone on that?
About the screaming terror unleashed in the waters.
Imagine they said it was a screaming terror in the waters, man. That must have been loud, man. Go ahead.
Around the zone.
Around the ship, go ahead.
On those early evenings, only days short of Jamaica.
Is there anyone that? Go ahead.
This terrible scene repeated over 3 days.
Listen, they was killing us for 3 days, throwing us off the ship for 3 days. Oh, sorry, I thought you put that. Go ahead.
Killed 1/3 of the Africans.
They killed 1/3, man, of the ones they took to be slaves, man. If you can't sustain them, just let them go, man. Why kill them? Go ahead.
The murder of the last group of Africans in early December did not end this catalogue of African deaths on the zone.
And listen, this only got brought out because they went to court to try and get their insurance money. Now, imagine the ones that didn't go to court. Imagine how much of us got thrown off other ships. Go to page 99. Have you read it already?
As the ship struggled with the diminished water supplies, though now with fewer African thirsts to quench, it was claimed that a further 36 Africans died before reaching Jamaica. Stubbs said that the zone arrived at Black River with 30 of the Negroes laying dead.
They were lying, man. They killed them, man. Go ahead.
From famine.
From famine, yeah, right. But obviously, these ain't giving them no water and whatnot. They killed us, man. Go ahead. Anyone that?
The zone arrived at Black River with 208 Africans.
So first, it set off with how much? Does it tell you? Read on. I'm sure it tells you. I'm not sure.
On the 9th of January 1782, a Jamaican newspaper ran an advertisement offering for sale 200 Africans from the zone. These were the survivors of the 442. So
they killed more than survived. They killed 242. 242 died on the way and 200 survived.
No.
How much did they kill?
They killed 442.
Yeah, and they killed
208.
208.
They killed like
236, yeah. So they killed 236, man, of God's people, man. Go ahead.
Such a massive loss of life on any ship would have proved a commercial disaster.
Because obviously,
when the
go ahead.
Gregson Syndicate heard about death, they had other ideas. They intended to turn the loss of life into a profitable trade. They wanted to turn the loss of our life into a profitable trade. Go ahead. By claiming on the ship's
Hold on, by doing what?
By claiming on the ship's insurance.
So they killed you and they claimed on the ship's insurance, man. They got all that money back because your life to them is nothing. They made all that money back, man. Go ahead.
So the Africans murdered at sea.
Anyone that? Jump to page 104. So listen, man, they claimed on the insurance after throwing us overboard. Give me page 104.
Page 104. The case was heard before a jury.
So now they went to court to try and get their money. Go ahead.
And decided that the insurers were indeed obliged under the terms of insurance.
Hold on, there was what?
Obliged.
So killing you They was obliged to get insurance money, man. That's like you driving your car into a tree and they say, yeah, we're going to pay you out. They could kill you and get paid out for it, man. Go ahead.
Under the terms of insurance policy to pay compensation.
And they paid compensation, man. Go ahead.
To the murdered Africans. But the matter did not rest there. The newspaper report detailing the case was to have profounded and unexpected consequences. Its immediate impact was to expose two related but distinct issues.
Go ahead.
Firstly, a mass murder had taken place on a British ship. Secondly, the men who committed the killings and the ship owners who employed them had not only got away with the killings, but had been profited.
Hold on, there was what?
Had even profited.
So they didn't just get away with it, they profited off our deaths, man. They profited of us dying on them slave ships, of them throwing us overboard. They profited off it. Go ahead.
From them by successfully claiming against their insurance.
And they got it by successfully claiming against their insurers, man. They made that money back. Give me Zechariah chapter 11 and verse 4. They made money off killing you, man. They got paid out by their insurance and they got away with it, man. Go ahead.
Zechariah 11 and 4. Thus saith the Lord my God, feed the flock of the slaughter, whose possessors slay them.
Whose what?
Possessors slay them.
And our possessors slay us, man. They murder us. The Bible's been telling us this for years. Go ahead.
And hold themselves not guilty.
And hold themselves not guilty. They kill us and go to insurance and get paid out for it, man. They get not guilty, man. They don't even go to trial. They get paid out for murdering you. Murdering a black man, you get paid out for it, man. I'm sure what Zimmerman sold his gun for expensive, in it. He auctioned off his gun, man, and someone paid the price for it, man. From there, for time's sake, give me a page 108.
Page 108.
Yeah, if you want.
Of course, not all Africans boarded the slave ship in a rebellious.
Now, some of us was rebellious because some of us was like, I ain't going out like no slave, man. I'm not doing that. They're gonna have to kill me. Some of us were like that. Go ahead.
Some were utterly crushed by the traumas.
Some were crushed by the traumas, meaning what? Some just gave up, just cried the whole time, didn't know what to do, couldn't cope. Go ahead.
Of enslavement and dislocation, sometimes for months past.
Go ahead.
Others were humbled by sickness.
Others were humbled by sickness, like they were so sick they couldn't do anything, man. Go ahead.
And still others rapidly slid into mental turmoil.
Some slid into mental. You see when some get depressed. Some was depressed, man, suffering from depression. Imagine this. You see your husband, your wife, your kids, whatever, and everyone's depressed. Everyone's looking at each other. No one knows what they can do. No one knows anything, man. They don't know where they're going. You're not speaking the same language as this guy and so forth. Go ahead.
And could see no solution.
And they couldn't see no solution, man. They couldn't see no solution. They're just on the ship. They couldn't see, yo, this ain't gonna end good. They couldn't see how their life was gonna be spared. Imagine knowing you're gonna die, man. Imagine knowing you're never gonna be living the life that you was living before, being normal, man. Imagine, you know, all that's come to an end and you're on the ship with some violent white man that just wants to kill everything moving. Go ahead.
To their miseries, but by ending their lives.
And some said, you know what? Only suicide's the only way out, man. Imagine it's so bad that people would rather commit suicide than stay alive, man. And listen, black people are usually the strongest people on the face of the earth when it comes to that. We'd be going through anything in life and suicide don't cross our mind. This must have been real bad for them wanting to commit suicide, man. For them wanting to jump off a ship and drown themselves. Like usually someone would see the war and be like, nah, I don't want to drown. These are went for it, man. Go ahead.
God. Yeah. But by ending their lives, yet for all that, after their initial shock, there emerged a persistent rebellious instinct.
And some of our brothers was rebellious because they was like, I ain't going out like that. Go ahead.
And urged to escape.
And tried to escape, man. Go ahead.
To resist the alien regime, to answer back by whatever means seemed possible. And
some was answering the white man back. The white man hates it when a black person pipes up to him. Exactly. They want to kill you just for standing up for yourself, man. They want to kill you just for speaking up for yourself. Go ahead.
God, but Africans also learn to read. Okay. That recalcitrance and revolt provoke violence.
And they knew that if they revolted and it provoked violence from the white men, no one gets more violent than him. Go ahead.
Reprisals from a vengeful crew. The crew took no chances.
And the crew took no chances with us, man. Same like now, what does the white man say? Oh, I thought it was armed. Same way they didn't take no chances back then. They don't take no chances now. Go ahead. Nothing ain't changed.
The crew took no chances. When confronted by dangerous Africans, they
same like the white man say, hold on, they did what?
When confronted with dangerous Africans, they shot at
exactly,
them.
The white man had guns on the slave ship, man. They used to do what to us?
They shot at them.
They used to shoot after us on the ship, man. Imagine we there with no weapons. What can we do, man? We just got hand to hand. These men have got guns and gunpowder and everything. They used to shoot at us on the slave ships. It was that bad. Go ahead.
Fired guns through the hatches.
Hold on, they did what?
Fired guns through the hatches.
So you had slaves that was in the bottom of the ship. They would open the thing and fire the gun in there, man. The white man would fire the gun in there, man, to let you know, listen, don't F around with me, man. That's what they used to do. Go ahead.
Into the slave decks.
They would shoot into the slave decks, man. They would teach you a lesson. Now, if you're running your mouth, they just fire in there. And what's all the other slaves around you going to say? Stop it, man. You're going to get a shot. They're going to say, stop it. Stop rebelling. And this is why some people today are so mad at the UPK, because they see us as the rebels, man. They're scared of the white man. Whereas these brothers down here was rebelling and getting shot at. You black folks out there, they hate what we're doing so much because they see us as rebels and so forth. They see as you can't rebel against the white man. Go ahead.
Drop lighted gunpowder.
Hold on, they did what?
Drop lighted gunpowder.
So the chain and shackled and the white man's dropping lighted gunpowder on them, man. Go ahead.
Through the gratings on the Africans.
And he threw gunpowder through the cracks in the, what's it called, where they was. Go ahead.
And doused them with boiling water.
And he burnt them with water, man. He burnt them with water. Is there any more on that? He burnt them with water, man. Let me just quickly get one more before you give me page 110.
Page 110. Scalegrave asked the captains of the 8 neighboring slave ships to bring all the African captains.
So now, and a man, he wanted to make an example out of a black man, so he told them bring all their slaves. Go ahead.
African captains on deck to witness the consequent punishment.
So, because one man was a rebel, they wanted to show what they was going to do to him, to let everybody else know this is going to be you if you niggas step out of line. If you niggas resist and rebel, this is going to be you next. Go ahead.
They all watched the leading rebel being hauled to the yard arm.
So that hung him upside down. Go ahead.
And he dangled there. 10 sailors shot him dead.
Hold on, did what? They did what?
10 sailors shot him dead.
Imagine you getting shot by 10 people, man. They done this to this rebel so the rest of the black folks would know, listen, don't resist, or this could be you. Go ahead.
The body being let down upon the deck.
And then they let his body down after shooting him 10 times. Go ahead.
The head was cut off.
They cut off his head, man. They cut off his head. Go ahead.
And thrown overboard.
And they threw his head overboard. They done this as an example. Go ahead.
This last part was done to let Negroes see that all who offended thus should be severed in the same manner. And
they said all who offended, this was done so that all who offended us, this will happen to them in the same manner. Which means you seeing that you're not going to want to offend because you don't want your head cut off, you don't want to get shot 10 times. Go ahead.
All this was not simply a matter of revenge and intimidation. Dissembled bodies were evidence of the power of white men.
And they just done this to show their power that we can do what we want. Don't pipe up to us. Go ahead.
And desecrating the African body was also a conscious effort to violate.
and they used to destroy the body after cutting the head off. Because obviously, somewhere in Africa, we picked up some nonsense that, your body needs to enter into the afterlife and blah, 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 blah. So the white man said, oh, that's what you believe. Well, I'm going to dismember your body so you can't enter into the afterlife. Go ahead.
Whatever belief African might hold about the body and how it passed over the afterlife, Africans who survived such shipboard battles had no guarantee of safety. So these ones had no guarantees. If you survived these battles, you still had no guarantee of safety because you don't know if they're going to kill you anyway. Go ahead. Those left with scars and wounds pose a problem. So those left with scars and wounds pose the problem. They would be harder to sell because a slave owner wouldn't want to buy a slave which is wounded,
who's got what a bullet lodged in his leg, who can't walk properly. Go ahead.
Obvious disfigurements
And obvious disfigurements from fighting with the white men on the ship. Go ahead.
would inevitably reduce the value of African.
So they said these ones would reduce the value. They said these ones right here the value would be reduced because they got marks and so forth. Go ahead.
When offered for sale in the Americas,
Go ahead.
one merchant complained that many recently arrived Africans had been injured in an insurrection.
Insurrection is basically a violent uprising, basically when they'll try to fight back. So they said they got the wounds from that. Go ahead.
Africans had been, many of those who lived to be brought to market had wounds in their bodies.
So many of those which was brought for sale, they had wounds in their bodies, whether being whipped, whether being shot, whether being burnt. Go ahead.
Which gave an unfavorable impression.
Go ahead.
Captains sometimes decided to solve this problem.
So now these men were injured. They had wounds. To realize these ones ain't going to be sold for much. So the white man said, okay, we're going to solve this problem. Listen to how the white man solved the problem. Go ahead.
By simply disposing of wounded Africans.
By what?
Simply disposing of wounded Africans.
So instead of letting them go free because they're wounded, they disposed of them. How did they dispose of them? Does it tell you? Go ahead.
Killed them.
They did what?
They killed them.
So because they got wounds, instead of letting them go free, what did the white man do? He killed them, man. When you could have just let them go free because they're wounded. He's basically saying your life ain't worth living if you're not a slave. He's saying the whole point of your life is for you to be a slave, man.
God.
He's saying your whole purpose of being here is for you to be a slave. He's saying if you're not going to be a slave, there's no point you living. So instead of him letting you go free, what does he do? He kills you, man. He kills you. He would rather take your life. Why not just let them go free? It's not costing you anything. You're not selling them anyway. He would rather kill you because you're a slave and you're good for nothing. And with that, that brings us to the end of the class. We'll finish it off next week. Just remind me, we'll finish it off next week. With that, we up on the time. We're going to do the prayers and then we're out of here.
That was a powerful class for the brother. There's the I.S.U.P.K security announcements. Where the I.S.U.P.K started at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding General GEN.YAHANNA. Rule for a new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes to school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6 month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment, Numbers 18:21, Malachi 3:8-10, mean 10th in the Hebrew Ma'ashra, 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. Give to the Treasury Department, priest one, not mandatory, whatsoever amount you would like to give. Upcoming holy convocations, the Passover, April 20th. Wait, young, was it that time? Jamaica Queens. Jamaica Queens, New York, Sundown, or ACAP, and ACAP, check the bulletin board in the hallway, and check all I.S.U.P.K social media. If anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, all black boots, shirt, pants, headscarf, and with that, I madam, rise and face the east, the Lord's Prayer, Abanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Hayat, Shamkar, Yahweh, Malach, Taba'ah, Ratazaka, Hayat, Aisha, Baratazar, Kawa, Hayat, Bashamayim, Nafananawa, Lakam, Cow, Yawan, what's the luck now? Kabawak now, Kasalak now, Kabawak now, Wala Ab, W.I. now, Balasaya 1, Abba, Hawashai now, Mayan, Rai, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwa, Waha Alam, Waha Fapara, La Iwalam, Aman.
In the English, our
Father, which art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name.
Hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy will be done. Thy will be done in earth
as it is in heaven.
As it is in heaven.
Give us this day.
Give us this day
our daily bread.
Our daily bread.
Forgive us our debts.
And forgive us our debts.
As we forgive our debtors.
As we forgive our debtors.
Lead us not.
And lead us not
into temptation.
Into temptation.
But deliver us.
But deliver us
from evil.
From evil.
For thine is the kingdom.
For thine is the kingdom.
And the power.
And the power.
And the glory.
And the glory. Forever. So be it. And the prayer for the Hakat, the power. Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh, Baba Kushah, Nafananawa, Hakar, La Ba'a, Kal Makala, Wakal Madawa, Haka, La Taha, Hamatazarayam, Haka, La Hakoyam, Hamafim, Haka, Arakawa, Hatama Allah, Lagara Shan, Ba'ashem Yahushai, the water Aman, Yahweh,
in the name of Yahushai,
in the name of Yahushai,
please give us the power,
please give us the power
to heal,
the power to
all
heal
manner of sickness,
all manner of sickness,
all manner of disease,
and all manner of disease,
power to cleanse the lepers,
the power to cleanse the
the power
lepers,
to raise the dead,
the power to raise the dead,
the power against unclean spirits,
the power against unclean spirits,
cast them out,
to cast them
in the
out.
name of Yahushai,
In the name of Yahushai, thank you,
so be it.
so be it. And the blessings, Barakatah Yahweh,
Barakatah Yahweh,
Wa Yahushai,
Yahushai,
Wa Mayaka Allah,
Yahushai,
Wa Allah Hayam,
Allah,
Mataza Bi Ah,
Yahushai, Allah,
Allah Wapihanna,
Allah, Yahushai,
Ha Allah Wapim,
Allah,
Ha Saranyam,
Saranyam,
Ha Kotazayanyam,
how much is a yanyam?
Ha Kalayanyam,
How can the yanyam?
Wa Wapim,
Wafyam,
Ya, Takia, Yahweh, Ba Hashem Yahushai,
Yahushai,
the water Aman.
Amen. In the English, bless you, Yahweh,
Bless you, Yahweh,
Yahushai,
and Yahushai,
Michael,
and
and
Michael,
the angels,
and the angels,
commanding GEN.YAHANNA,
commanding GEN.YAHANNA,
generals,
the generals,
captains,
the captains,
officers,
the officers, the
and
troopers,
the sisters,
and the sisters,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
in the name of Yahushai,
in the name of Yahushai, thank you,
so be it.
so be it.
Bless you, Yahweh,
Bless you, Yahweh,
King of heaven and earth,
King of heaven and
and
earth,
all things living,
and all things living,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
in the name of Yahushai,
in the name of Yahushai,
to us now,
listen to us now,
right now,
right now,
evils,
to evils,
curses,
and curses,
punishment,
and
and
punishment,
destruction,
and destruction,
death,
and death
to the heathen,
to the heathen
that speak against us,
that speak against us,
our prophets,
thy prophets,
teachers,
the teachers,
princes,
the princes,
priests,
the priests,
Israelite brothers,
the Israelite brothers,
and the school,
and the school,
evils,
and evils,
curses,
and curses,
punishment,
and punishment,
destruction,
and destruction,
death,
and death
to the heathen,
to the heathen,
and shake loose,
and shake
the
loose
pockets,
the
the
pockets
rich of Israel,
of the rich of
that
Israel
refuse
that
to
refuse
give to the school,
to give to the school,
force their riches,
riches,
enter into thy sanctuary,
to enter into thy sanctuary,
evils,
to evils,
curses,
and curses,
punishment,
and punishment,
destruction,
and destruction,
death,
and death
to the Edomites,
to the Edomites,
and the nations,
and the nations,
and the drug dealers,
and the drug
the
dealers,
court system,
the court system,
prison system,
the prison system,
Planned Parenthood,
Planned Parenthood,
all the governments of our enemies,
all the governments of our enemies,
Amalek synagogues and armies,
Amalek synagogues and
Roman
armies,
Catholic Church,
the Roman Catholic Church, the Pope,
Islam,
Islam,
Christianity,
Christianity,
Egyptology,
Egyptology, militia,
Ku Klux Klan,
Ku Klux Klan,
Aryan nations,
Aryan Nation, skinheads,
Pascomatology,
Pascomatology,
gay movement,
the gay
the
movement,
lesbian movement,
the lesbian movement,
spies,
spies,
workers of witchcraft,
workers of witchcraft,
NASA space program,
NASA space program,
army,
army,
navy,
navy,
air force,
Air Force,
Marines,
Marines,
Wall Street,
open
open up the internet,
up the internet
and the airways,
and the airways,
cable access channels,
the cable access
the
channel
radio channels,
and the radio channels,
convict the spirit
convict the
of
spirit
any of thy people
of any of thy
that
people
seek to stop us,
that seek to stop
and
us
bring swift death,
and bring to death
all the heathen
to all the heathen
that stand in the way,
that stand in the
or
way
try to stop us,
or try to stop
from
us
broadcasting your words
from broadcasting your words
throughout the planet Earth,
throughout the planet Earth.
let
Let loose
all the terrorists,
all the terrorists,
cause them to go
cause them to go
to and fro
to and fro
through the air
through the earth
and destroy
and destroy
all the terrorists
all the terrorists
to come against America
to come against
and
America
destroy them
and destroy
in
them
their strongholds.
in their stronghold.
Let America shake
Let America
at the
shake
hands of the terrorists.
at the hands of the
Let
terrorists.
Yahushai,
Let Yahushua, Michael,
Gabriel,
and Gabriel
come down
come down
with flying saucers
to the flying saucers
all the heathens
and to all the heathen
that come up against us.
that come up against
And
us
speak thy word,
as we speak thy word,
to be known,
cause it to be
by
known
all,
by all
the angels
that is the
that
angels
have done it,
that have done it,
cause it to be spread,
cause it to be
to the
spread
media,
to the media
throughout the whole world,
throughout the whole
cause
world,
them to shake,
cause it to shake
at thy coming,
as thy coming
in the name of Yahushai.
in the name of Yahushua.
Thank you,
Thank you.
always,
Always,
so be it.
so be it. May the bless Israel, Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Ba Hashem Yahushua, Barak Hanara, Wa Yasha'ala, Wahabaya, Topayim, Barak Apah, Magan Hagan, Aitara, Kamal, Alashai, Zaira, Kaya, Ayala, Aiden,
or Israel,
Officer of Russia, Ba Hashem Yahushua, the water Aman, and what we said was, Lord, in the name of Jesus, bless us and Israel and the school. Bless your shield, protect our loved ones in the name of Yahushua. Thank you, so be it. And with that, I'm going to give one courtesy salute to the teacher. Men of Israel, I Bad Shabbat, I Madam, Barak, Yahweh Ba Hashem Yahushua Barakatah,
Yahweh Hashem Yahshua Barakafam,
Yajamata, Yasisar. One courtesy salute to the sisters. Men of Israel, Bad Shabbat, Al-Madam, Barak, Yahweh Shema Al-Athar Hashem Yahushai. Ya Jamata, class dismissed.